The Giver, Chapter 13, Summary and Quotes. Jonas has been learning a lot from his training as the new receiver of memory. In this chapter, we watch Jonas try to deal with knowing he will be the only person with access to memories. Decisions, decisions. If you have ever felt alone or lonely, then you know how Jonas is beginning to feel in Chapter 13 of Lois Lowry's The Giver. Unlike our world, people in Jonas's community do not have memories beyond their own lives. Only the receiver does. Generations ago, the community decided to go to sameness by making everything the same. Because of this sameness, only the receiver knows what colors are, or what it is like to catch snow on your tongue or feel sunshine. Through training, Jonas has learned all of the colors. Sometimes looking around his community, he will see colors for a brief moment before they are gone again, returning to their flat and hueless shade. Like anyone who wants something badly, Jonas is frustrated that he can only catch glimpses of color outside of his training, and explains to the Giver it isn't fair that nothing has color. Without color, there are no choices. It is like when we are young and our parents decide what we will wear every day. Except in Jonas's case, there is no difference in the colorless fabric of his clothing. Instead, maybe he would like to be able to choose what color tunic or shirt to wear in the morning. The trouble, as the Giver points out, is that if people had the ability to choose, then they might make wrong choices. Although this might seem strange to us since we are used to being able to make most of our own choices, Jonas thinks that this makes sense. After all, he says, what would happen if people could choose who they married or what job they held? What would happen to his community then? Do you see what I see? As Jonas's new awareness grows, he feels more and more frustrated. He finds himself getting angry with his friends for being satisfied with their same old lives, and angry with himself because he can do nothing to change those lives. Without asking whether he can, Jonas tries to share his new knowledge with his loved ones. One day he asked his friend Asher to look at a bed of geraniums while he put his hands on Asher's shoulders and concentrated on the red of the petals, trying to hold it as long as he could, and trying at the same time to transmit the awareness of red to his friend. Asher does not see what Jonas sees, though. Unfortunately, not all of the memories are pleasant. One night, Jonas is at home after receiving the disturbing memory of elephant poachers. He had watched as the men shot and killed an elephant before removing its tusk. Perhaps even more sad, though, was watching another elephant mourn its loss. Still upset by the memory and the mourning elephant's roar, Jonas watches that evening as his younger sister Lily takes down her comfort object, a stuffed elephant. When he tries to tell her there were once real elephants, Lily does not believe him. Jonas tries to give her an idea of the being of the elephant, of the towering, immense creature. Lily still does not see, and eventually moves away from Jonas's touch. Why is there a receiver? One of the choices people in our world expect to be able to make is in our spouse. Although people in Jonas's community must apply for and then be assigned a spouse, they still expect to share their lives with that person. While Jonas can have a spouse, much of his life would be kept separate. The Giver even had a spouse, though she now lives with the other childless adults. Once adults grow older, they were no longer needed to create family units, and so live separately. While they lived together, though, the Giver and his spouse had lives different than others in the community. For example, only the receiver is allowed to have the collection of books that contained all the knowledge of the centuries. The receiver is also not allowed to tell anyone about the job or the memories, except when a new receiver is chosen. Apart from such normal activities as eating and taking walks, the receiver's life is the memories. Every once in a while, the committee of elders would need him for advice, but the giver tells Jonas they only rarely ask. Even though there are things he wishes they could change, they don't want change. Life here is so orderly, so predictable, so painless. It's what they've chosen. Though it seems strange at first to Jonas that the community would need a receiver, the giver explains they learned they needed a receiver when the previous selection failed. When the former trainee failed, the memories were released instead of going back into the giver's mind. Although at one time in history, everyone had access to memories, that was a long time ago. Because people did not know how to handle the memories, the experience made them aware of how they need a receiver to contain all that pain and knowledge. Sharing the pain. Some days, the giver is in pain when Jonas comes and sends him away without training. On those days, Jonas tested his developing memory by watching for the colors he now knows exist. He thinks about the communities he has visited before and wonders what lay in the far distance where he had never gone. The land cannot just stop existing past those other communities he has visited, could it? Where are the places he is seeing in the memories? Think of a time when you watched a loved one in pain and wished you could help. In Jonas's case, he knows he can help the giver by taking some of the painful memories his trainer holds. Although the giver is reluctant, he knows he must pass them on eventually. They will start with the same scene in the first memory Jonas received. A sled on a hill. Lesson summary. In this chapter, Jonas struggles with feeling alone. When he first wishes everyone could see what he now sees, he decides it might be bad if people had the power to make their own decisions. Although his knowledge is increasing, his friends cannot see what he sees, and he cannot show them. Even if he marries, there will be many things in his life he cannot share up until they both go to live with the childless adults. As difficult as it may be for the receiver, the people of the community can no longer handle the pain of having the memories themselves.